Hi guys and welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be a follow-on from my last video, which was all about how to get out of the clutches of depression, and we're going to be taking things one step further and discussing tips on how to be happier in life in general. So if you're in a depressive rut currently, I would advise that you check out my previous video. I'll leave a link in the description, as today we're going to be discussing more advanced tips, and they're going to require quite a bit of effort and dedication, but I promise you they're going to be worth it. So today's video will be suitable for if you're feeling general low mood, maybe lack of direction, or just unfulfilled in life, and if you're wanting to be happier overall. So I'll be sharing 6 tips today, and they're tailor-made tips that have worked for me personally, so I'm really hoping that they'll work for you too. But what I want to do before we dive into that is just give you a bit of background as to where I was at in my life before I started implementing these tips and how they've helped me on my journey. So I'll keep this bit concise, but just a bit of a run through. So I lost everything when I had my breakdown and was diagnosed with mental health issues. So I lost my job, I lost my relationship, I lost my house, I lost my savings. Bit by bit, it was all stripped away till I was basically left with nothing. And this isn't a sob story, this is just the reality. And what it did is it made me feel quite bitter and resentful for quite a long period of time. I waken up in the morning and I just didn't like the thought of facing another long and tedious day, not knowing where I was going, where I was headed, what I wanted to do. And yeah, this went on for a while till I knew something needed to change. I wasn't suffering from depression as such though, because I have gone through bouts of this in my past, and there is a difference. So the way I describe it really is just feeling a bit lost. So I knew something had to change, and it had to change fast. And once I got out of the mindset of stopping with the self-pity and starting to take action instead, I noticed that my life started to piece together bit by bit. And I did a lot of research into what motivates me and what brings me joy, and I can now honestly say I'm happy probably around 90% of the time, genuinely, and it never drops below a baseline level either, because I've got a better attitude and resilience now. Don't get me wrong, bad stuff does still happen in my life from time to time, and I do still get sad about it because that's normal, but it's never as persistent or severe as it used to be. Bit by bit, I started implementing these areas of research that I'd done into my life, and I felt my happiness levels start to rise literally instantly. It was phenomenal, to be honest. Not only was I adding real value to these core areas of my life, but also by taking action. That's empowering in itself. So what I'll be doing, I'll be sharing 6 tips with you today, along with details of how to do them, sort of step by step if you like. And just a little disclaimer first, I've got to do at the start, I'm not a doctor, I'm just speaking from a place of experience where I felt stuck in my life. Stuck is how I describe it, and I want to help other people reach the same general level of happiness that I feel day to day now. So let's get to the nitty gritty. I am not saying it's going to be easy, but I am promising you that it will be worth it. Tip number 1 is called the 3 Ps, and this tip is very simple yet very clever. I will be explaining a breakdown of it in detail, but it's easy to implement once you get the basic idea of it. I learned about this during a self-development course that I did, and it's basically about splitting your day into 3 separate categories: purpose, practical, and pleasure. I've always struggled to get the balance right with my work, and would find myself spending too much time on one of these categories and then neglecting the others. So here's an example. I'd spend all day maybe cleaning the house and not focusing on any of my core goals whatsoever. Or on the flip side, I could spend all day typing away on my laptop and let my living environment become a bit of a mess, or, well, a pigsty, if we're being honest with you. So what this is about is making sure that you're getting an even balance of all 3 of these areas, and I will go through them and give you some examples from each. What I do now when I write my task list for the day, which I would advise anyone to do, because ticking the tasks off as you go along is amazing and it's like free dopamine, I try and get an even split between these 3 categories as much as possible. So for the purpose category, that would include tasks and projects that bring you closer to your goals and to your passion, which I'll also be discussing in this video. So for me, that would be things like maybe prepping for a new video for my channel, or writing a chapter in my book, updating my mood board, or committing a DBT skill to memory. Basically anything that makes you feel like you're progressing. So I try to get 3 tasks a day complete out of the purpose work. Sometimes they can be small goals as well, but even if you're doing 1 thing a day that brings you closer to your goal, that is going to make you feel happier and fulfilled. Now, under the practical category, this includes the things that need to be done day to day. So that could be like your food shopping, or for me, picking my medication up, things like that. Cleaning, which I'm still not very good at, but I make it essential now to tick off certain tasks per day, like making sure my rooms get tidy, making sure I keep on top of the washing up and things like that. My appointments as well, I also class under practical, but it's up to you to decide which category you think that I'd fall under for you. And basically, by implementing the practical part of your day, it means the important stuff doesn't get missed out, because I could spend ages working on my purpose work. So say if I'm writing all day, for example, I might forget to pay my phone bill, or forget to get the cat litter from Asda, something like that, and that can get me in a tiz. So by making sure that I make time for the practical work too, nothing gets missed and I feel nice and on top of things. Finally, under the pleasure category, pretty self-explanatory. That's anything in life that brings you joy, any recreational activity. It's really important to include these, which just took me a long time to learn, because it means that you still enjoy life and also helps you avoid burnout. So some examples for me would be like playing Sims, or chatting to a friend, or doing some adult colouring, or maybe putting a comedy on. And I make sure to make time for things like this every single day too. It's like I say, it keeps me one step ahead of burnout and keeps the balance right throughout the day. So basically what you're aiming to do here is get an even split of the three categories, and you want to aim to do this every single day. Now, sometimes external factors can come into play, which means this isn't always possible. Completely understandable. So the best thing to do here is just to sort of regroup, set your stall out and go again the next day. So when you're writing your task list for the day, or you could do it the night before, which helps you set intention for the next day, so you wake up with clarity, get an even split between the three. If I have a day where I complete tasks from each three of these categories, I feel fulfilled, I feel motivated, I feel organised, and I feel happy. And since I learned this tip, it has literally transformed my life, my emotions and my mood. Tip number 2 is to find your passion, and the reason I'm including this as one of the first tips is because I think it's one of the most important aspects to a happy life. Not only is it going to make you feel happy, it's also going to make you feel alive. Now, my passion is what gets me out of bed in the morning. It gives me focus, it gives me drive and motivation, and helps me carry out my day with intention. So when I'm working on my passion, it never actually feels like work, because it's fun for me. If I'm creating a video or I'm writing my book, that brings me a sense of fulfillment, joy and clarity. And it's okay if you don't know what your passion is yet, because the good news is it's so insightful and an extremely rewarding experience to discover this. So how do you do it? Well, a great way would be to re-explore your childhood interests and rekindle those. So, for example, as a child, I always enjoyed writing, making up stories, getting creative, things like that. So, into adulthood, I've rekindled these interests, and I do things such as writing like stories, I do my journaling, I do artwork all around the house, things like that. So yeah, have a little digging into what you used to do as a child and see how you can implement that into your adult life. And another really, really good and easy way to identify one of your passions is to think about whatever it is that you do that you get fully absorbed in. You know, when you're doing something and you just completely lose all track of time, what that's called is entering a flow state, and it feels absolutely magical. So this is another way that you can identify your passion. So get out your pen and paper, do a bit of digging, a bit of soul searching, and once you have identified your passions, you want to be pursuing them. You can have more than one passion, of course, that's perfectly fine, but don't just choose something for the sake of it. It has to be something that truly fills you with excitement, because once you've found that, it's going to bring you long-lasting joy. Best part is as well, you can have so much fun on the journey of actually exploring what your passions are in the first place. But if you already know, then fantastic. Pursue them, pursue them, pursue them. Tip number 3 is to build your tribe. Now, what I mean by tribe is your select group of close friends that you can depend on no matter what, and they will always have your back. These types of friendships you can normally count on one hand, and they are absolutely invaluable and essential for maintaining positive mental health, to have that connection with people and also to have the support if the going gets tough. Now, I am not talking about having thousands of fake friends that might be good for a laugh down the pub but would drop you like a hot potato as soon as a better option comes along, or you know, those friends that secretly are a bit bitter and resentful of you and want to see you fail. No, I'm talking about genuine friendships, and that's what's really important here. So building your tribe is not an overnight process. What it requires is evaluating your current friendship circle and potentially freeing yourself from any toxic relationships, because they're really going to hold you back. Now, what they say is that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I'm a big believer in that. So what you want to be doing is making sure that you're sort of handpicking these friendships, making sure that they're really true and meaningful to you. People that maybe share similar morals and values as you and really bring out your best side. I'm not saying that these friends have to be identical to you or an exact carbon copy, because having a diverse friendship group can be really meaningful. It can bring different insights and fresh perspective into your life. But what I am saying is, say if honesty and loyalty are really strong values for you, you are going to want to find people that possess those same traits, because living true to your morals and values is a way to be happy in itself, and it means you never have to compromise on that. So yes, it's okay to be picky, because these types of friendships are going to be lifelong, and they're going to greatly impact your mood, productivity and general overall happiness level. So choose people that raise your spirits, make you smile and make you feel good about yourself. So tip number 4 is to drop prejudgment, and this is a skill I learned during my DBT course. I love DBT and I recently graduated. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and the difference that this made to my life is just phenomenal. So I've noticed before implementing this skill, when I was about to embark on something, I'd have thoughts such as, this is going to be too difficult, I'm not going to enjoy this is going to be boring, I don't have the skill. All these kind of thoughts before I even tried it out. And what it was doing is it was really holding me back, because I was stuck in my comfort zone and never really progressing. So an example of using this skill in my life is with this channel. So I'd wanted to set up a YouTube channel probably for over a year before I even posted my first video, because I was having all these thoughts that I'd just be no good at it. And once I actually decided that I was going to try and implement this skill, I was going to go in with an open mind and give it a go. It really, really worked. It turned out it wasn't as difficult as I thought. I did enjoy it, and I was able to learn the skills that I needed to keep improving over time. I noticed that a lot of people have preconceptions based on what they're told, or maybe they failed at something previously. That doesn't mean that you'll fail again now. I mean, there's a million reasons why it might not have worked out before. You could have been stressed, you could have been tired, you could have been distracted. So the key here is just to go into it with an open mind and drop all the prejudgments. So when I revisited this with patience and a willingness to learn, I was overjoyed when I created my first video, and this really got me thinking of how many other things I've been holding back on doing due to these preconceptions. So whatever your ideas are, give them a go. You won't know until you try. 9 times out of 10, it's never going to be as daunting, difficult or frustrating as you think it's going to be, and you never know, it could lead to some fantastic progression in your life. And I really do think in life sometimes we spend more time worrying about something than the time it would take to actually just do it. So yes, I still make mistakes along the way, and yes, sometimes things turn out a bit more complex or take more time than I thought they were going to do, but the key here is to get started and get on with it. Not only is this tip going to make you feel happier, but it's also going to make you so much more productive, and it's going to bring so much more fulfillment to your life, because you're going to be working on your dreams and your goals and your aspirations, and that is just a truly magical experience. Basically, by dropping the prejudgments, you can start to build a life that you've always dreamed about. Tip number 5 is live for the moment. This is also known as mindfulness, which I'm sure you've heard of before, and I learned all about in my DBT course again. And it actually ties nicely into the dropping prejudgments tip, because they both require being in a mindfulness state to be successful. So it means letting go of regret about the past, letting go of anxiety about the future, and living purely in the present moment. So there are tons of videos and information out there about how to do this, but in a nutshell, how I live mindfully is to just be completely at one with what I'm doing. So say, for example, if I'm going out for a walk with my dad, I fully engage myself in that conversation. I'm not thinking about, oh, what we're going to have for tea later on. I should have put a load of laundry on before we came out. I'm just in the present moment. So not only is this going to make you a heck of a lot happier, but mindfulness has actually been linked to so many positive benefits as well. You can do your own research on this, but some examples are reduction in pain symptoms, alleviating stress, and improved sleep as well. It's a really, really useful skill to learn, and it does get easier with time and practice. So everyone has things that have happened in the past that they wish hadn't, or wish they'd done things differently. I mean, I know I do. But by using a DBT skill called radical acceptance, which comes under this, is basically about accepting the past. You're not saying that it was right, but you are becoming at peace with it. And this is something I had to do when I lost my right eye to help me deal with the trauma. It was not a nice thing to go through, but I'm now at peace with that. It is what it is, and I can learn to move on. So with past mistakes, what you want to do is you want to learn from them and propel yourself forward, but don't let them hold you back, or don't let them keep making you miserable. Now, I do believe that the past and maybe mistakes can be an invaluable tool to learn from, but the key here is you don't want to be dwelling on them, and you don't want them to hold you back. Now, a key thing that I do here is I have this rule where I never make the same mistake twice. And what this does is it gives me the freedom to explore new ideas, new opportunities and things like that. And if it doesn't quite work out, then that's fine. I'll just adapt and move on for next time. And as for the future, I'm not saying that it's not okay to daydream or fantasize. Now, that's absolutely fine. But what I'm saying is, don't fret about it. If it's something that's within your control, then you can change it. And if it's something that's out of your control, don't worry about it. There's an actual saying here that basically puts this in a nutshell, and it says, if you can change it, why are you worrying about it? If you can't change it, why are you worrying about it? I know that sounds quite self-explanatory, but it's quite a good mantra to go by. So by doing this, what it does is it frees all this unnecessary burden that you've been carrying around, all these anxieties and worries, and it helps you live in the present moment and feel peaceful and ultimately happy. And finally, tip number 6, and this is the big one, and it is make it happen. So have you ever noticed in life, say if you've got like a set deadline for something, or you've got someone that's really relying on you to get something done, or something that really requires some urgency, you find the energy and you find the motivation and you get it done. But when that comes to your own life, without that necessity and without that urgency, we kind of let things fall to the wayside. Now, imagine if we adopted this attitude into our own lives. How much more we would be able to get done. Think of how much more productive, fulfilled and successful we would actually be. So this one is extremely important. So I work by this mantra of make it happen, and I've actually got artwork up on my wall there, so every day when I wake up I can see that mantra. And what it means is, so say if I have a new goal or a new project, what I do is I get all the supplies needed, I get myself sorted out, and then I get on with it. Treat your goals and your dreams as essential, and then just get yourself started. Don't wait for things to just fall into your lap, because that's not how life works. It's not going to work out that way. And sometimes the results might not be instant if it's a big goal that you've got. But the way I see it, the bigger the goal, the bigger the reward at the end of it. So what you want to do is you want to break your project down into small, manageable and sustainable chunks, and you want to be working on them daily. If you work on this during the day, then when you go to bed the following night, you're going to be happier and more fulfilled, and that's an absolute given, I can promise you that. And another thing I need to say here, and hear me out on this, is embrace the setbacks, because that's going to happen along the way. Now, what you can do here is this can really help you grow and develop as a person and learn some new skills. So whether it's maybe you're having technical difficulty, you don't have all the resources you need, or you have more knowledge to learn, then embrace that and use that to propel you forward to refine your skill and move closer to your goals. When you're faced with obstacles at the time, it can make you feel a bit defeated, but I promise you, if you rise to the challenge and you overcome them, you are going to get such a sense of satisfaction with yourself, because what you can do is you can look back on it and you can say, yes, it was difficult, it challenged me, but I did it. I actually have an example in my own life of one of my own big goals, and I want to just share this with you because this might help give you a bit of insight into how to implement this skill. So I want to write an autobiography. I'm currently in the process of writing it, and as you can imagine, writing a whole book about your entire life is a very long and testing process. It requires daily discipline and dedication and consistency to get it done. And I felt completely overwhelmed at first. I didn't know where to start. So what did I do? As usual, I got out my notebook and pen and I wrote a plan. So the way I did this is I broke it up into phases, which made it seem much less overwhelming and much more manageable and helped me stay motivated. So, for example, the phase of doing the research, which would be collecting all the data to go into the book, and then the phase of writing the rough overall draft, and then finally the phase of writing the official chapters, one chapter at a time. So what I do is I make sure that I'm taking steps towards this daily, because consistency is key here. And once I complete a full phase, I'll get myself a little treat. So I might get a takeaway that night, or treat myself to a box set that I've had an eye on. So yeah, break it into phases, because that's going to make it much more appealing and manageable for you. And if I do happen to miss a day sometimes, because that can happen, life can get in the way, unforeseen circumstances can happen, of course, then what I do is I just accept that and then come right back to it again the next day. Even if you can only manage 10 minutes of progress on one day, it's still progress. So what I'm trying to say is, learn to rest, but not to quit. So now time for the conclusion of today's video. I know this might seem like quite a lot of information to take on board at first, but that's why I've tried to include a description for each tip, and also some examples of how I implement them into my own life to hopefully break it down for you. So yeah, I can pretty much guarantee that if you can implement these 6 tips, that you are going to become happier and more fulfilled in your life in one way or another. I mean, I know they've worked for me, and out of all that information, there'll be some stuff there that really resonates with you and that you feel that you'll be able to get started with. And even if you're a little skeptical after watching through the video and think, well, I'm not sure if that's going to work, why not just give it a go and try it? Because you never know, your life could be completely transformed. If you put in the effort now, you could be reaping the rewards soon. So yeah, try them out. So I'm really hoping that you watch this video all the way through, because out of these tips, there's surely going to be some of them that resonate with you and that you feel willing to try and implement into your life. So I would advise you to start as soon as possible, and let me know in the comments how you get on. I always appreciate any feedback. I'm open to requests as well for future videos, so let me know about that. And if you did find this helpful, please like and subscribe, because it truly makes my day. My plans for the channel next, I'm hoping to do more mental health related videos, such as what I've been doing currently, because it's something I feel really passionate about. And I've got some other little fun ideas planned too, so stay tuned for those. Thank you so much for watching, and ciao for now.